Viewers discretion is advised. We get into some heavy topics in this episode. Alright, so let me give y'all a quick breakdown. If you don't follow me on my TikTok, which you should, it's in_post podcast. Follow me on TikTok, you would have saw this video, and if you did, you would already been here, but that's beside the point. Back in 2018, I saw a film that left me so dumbfounded, it dwelled with me and latched onto me for about 6 years of my life until we're back here today. And that film was a film by Alex Garland, director and writer you might know. He's got a popular movie out by A24 called Civil War. You might have heard about it. If not, no big deal. But anyway, I'm not talking about that film. Everybody knows about that film. What film I'm talking about that nobody else knows about, which I'm pretty sure nobody else has seen, is Annihilation. Annihilation is an Alex Garland film that came out in 2018. At the time, I didn't even know who that was, and I didn't even know that he made it. The only reason that I think I saw this movie is because it was by the director of Ex Machina, and I was like, I loved Ex Machina. Maybe this movie will be something like that. And when I walked in there, let me tell you, back when I was 20, I had no idea what I was watching. But fast forward to 2024, to present day, I've been listening to the audiobooks because Annihilation is based off a book. And I was like, hold up, let me go watch this again, because I've always been wanting to watch this film again. I've been putting it off for some reason. Probably because I was afraid that I still wouldn't understand what I was watching. Anyway, I decided to come back and watch the film again. And let me tell you, I have a new lens, a new perspective of what I was seeing and what this film was trying to do and say to me. And that's why I'm on here and talking about that. So let's just dive deep into Annihilation. So what's Annihilation about? Annihilation follows Lena, a biologist at Johns Hopkins. She's a teacher. And her husband, who they were both in the military, is presumed dead for a year. And then all of a sudden she's painting her house and he walks in. This man's been missing for a year, presumed dead, shows up, but something's not quite right. He looks like a blank slate. He starts talking. He's like, I don't know where I've been, don't know how I got here. I just know that I appeared here. And it's like, all right, that's weird. You disappear for a year and you have no answers. It's kind of weird, man. All of a sudden, he starts like convulsing and like dying. They get an ambulance, and they get an ambulance. Ambulance gets pulled over by some government agents, and we dive into the story of like, hey, let me tell you what mission this guy was on. And we dive deep into the film. And this film is pretty much, it just goes from there. It's pretty straightforward. It feels pretty short. It's a 2-hour movie, but it doesn't feel like 2 hours. It feels like it progresses the plot pretty fast, which, granted, it doesn't feel like there's a lot there, because a lot of the plot to me is a lot of subtext. A lot of non-said things are said in this movie. It's a lot of work as a viewer to understand this movie, which I don't mind in films. I love films that like get me to like do a little bit of work, do a little bit of thinking to get to where the director, the writer wants me to get, or to get to where I think I should get from this movie. I enjoy movies like this, and Annihilation is a movie that gets you participating in the story. And what that means to me is you're actively trying to solve the story, the mystery, along with the characters in this film, because nothing is quite answered directly. It's more of in your interpretation. And that's what I love about films sometimes. And I love those films specifically that allow you to, it trusts you as a viewer to be smart enough to come in and form your own opinion. Now, for me, back when I was 20, I don't think I was that smart to understand the things that it wanted me to actually understand. But now, again, I revisit it. I kind of get the ideas and themes that the film wants from me, or that it was trying to tell, the ones that I grabbed. And let's just start off with what Annihilation means, because I feel like having that definition of what Annihilation means helps kind of ground you and give you a little basis of where we're going. So, the dictionary definition of annihilation is the complete destruction or obliteration of a thing. The threat of global annihilation. The little thing. But I don't really care about that first definition. I'm going to go down to the second definition that deals with physics. And annihilation in terms of physics is the conversion of matter into energy, especially the mutual conversion of particles and antiparticles into electromagnetic radiation. That's a lot of words, a lot of science, a lot of jargon, but it plays a role into the title, into the name, into the idea of annihilation. Because in this film, things don't get destroyed; they get changed, they get altered. And to alter and change something is just to move the matter and atoms and molecules around in it to turn it into something else. And so you might annihilate what that thing previously was, but you have changed it into something else. And so with that definition and that understanding of it, you can look at it and see Annihilation as a movie all about change. And it's very important you understand this movie is about change because of our main cast of characters that we have in this film that all go through some sort of change or have changed in themselves. In the books, which I think is very interesting, they don't actually name characters. They have these generic like titles, and that's what they go by. They don't actually ever give them their names. At least the first book doesn't. And this one, they give them names. You got Lena, Jesse, and yada yada yada. But to me, though, their names don't matter. To me, like I'm watching this film and I'm like, oh man, who was that? I don't know, because you don't spend a lot of time like with these characters, because by the time you are able to build a relationship with them, something happens to them and they're no longer a part of the story. So understanding the characters isn't that important, but understanding what has happened to these characters and what led them to this moment is, I think, the important part of this film and what you should really latch onto, because most of these characters are forgettable, but what happens to them and how they react and what brought them into passing through the Shimmer into this strange new world is very important, because everybody that has gone through the Shimmer has not returned. This is all intents and purposes a suicide mission. So what makes these individuals want to volunteer to go into a place they know they most likely will not return from? And that's a big question that deserves answers, and that's what I think you should latch on when you are watching this film. Yeah, you shouldn't focus on the characters. I know it's crazy, but you should focus on their motivations and why they're here and what is driving them to even be here in the first place. Each of these characters have their own types of traumas throughout this film. Some are indirect, some are things that they have done to themselves. But the main thing is these people have come in broken, damaged in some sort of sense. There's an quote unquote issue with them. There's some awful change that has happened to them. And as they progress through this environment to get to the lighthouse, they are constantly changing. Not just them, their environment, their literal selves and personalities at some points are changing, which is very interesting. And this idea of change, and it, like, to me, this film feels like an emotional journey of like healing yourself through trauma and healing your trauma through change and evolution and growing into something else greater. I don't know if I say greater, just evolving into something. You are, in a sense, annihilating that part of yourself that wants to break you down and keep you in these awful positions that like want to keep you down, like alcoholism. One of these characters suffer with. This is a self-destructive habit that keeps you inebriated, suppressed, and numb to everything around you. Another one, a cheater, constantly wanting to destroy a relationship and a life that you've built for no apparent reason other than you just want to destroy it. Another one, self-harm. You aren't happy with yourself, even though this character has achieved greatness in many of other people's eyes. This character is great. She is a talent that not many people have seen, but to her, there is something wrong where she must hurt herself. And the list goes on and things like this. These people that feel like they need to be punished, they need to destroy themselves. And that line of thinking kind of disappears throughout this film because these characters are constantly changing and going through this evolution, which is the biggest point of this film, which I understand now. This film is about growth, healing of these past traumas, and growing into something greater. Now, are they using aliens and some different things to like get this point across? Yes, but I think it does it well because in the film, in the beginning of the film, they talk about in the beginning of our film, Lena, our main character that we spend the most time with, she talks about apoptosis. And apoptosis is a function in your cell that is designed to just self-destruct and die. You have cells in your body, if you didn't know, that are just designed to get to a point and they just shut off. They just stop working. And this comes up because her and her husband Cain talk about how God doesn't make mistakes, and she brings up apoptosis, and he's like, I like it when you're a smart ass, ha ha ha. But like, it's a thought that like you should sit with. And it's like, did he make a mistake by leaving this in here? Because if he did make a mistake, if we're designing his image, why would he design us to die? Why would he design us to like break down? Why would our cells be designed to just self-destruct ourselves? And then this theme gets carried on when we get to the psychiatrist, and she talks about how humans aren't really hardwired to commit suicide. They're hardwired for self-destruction. They're hardwired to destroy themselves and the environments around them. That's what she says, and that's what she thinks. And if you connect that back to apoptosis, where your cells are designed to self-destruct, you kind of see that connection. You see that parallel of like, hold up. Are we self-destructive because it's in our nature, or do we choose to be self-destructive because we want to? Like, is it a choice, or is it just an unconscious thing that we just naturally do because it is a part of what it means to be a human organism? Is that we just constantly self-destruct, and we push that idea and thoughts onto our environment and others around us? I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a comment if you think I'm onto something. If you are interested in this thought, if you've never even had a thought like that before, self-destruction in itself, is it a thing that we are just destined to do, or is it a thing that we choose to do? Again, leave a comment on my TikTok, anywhere you find me. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'd love to have a discussion, because that's why I'm making this video. I want to have a discussion about this idea, about this film. And the film goes on, and then we get to this cool thing where they get to the lighthouse, and a whole bunch of other things happen, which I'm not here to describe and tell you the whole film. I'm here to just latch on to this idea of change and self-destruction and evolution and growing, because it's constantly in this film. You see creatures that are evolving, meshing, and like forming new creatures with creatures that should have no business sharing DNA together. And you're constantly seeing all this creation happening, but in a sense, you have to destroy that being first in order to create something else. So you must annihilate this thing in order to create something else. So another question I want to pose to y'all: is our self-destruction just a form of annihilation to create something new, to create something better, or just to create something at all? Are we annihilating ourselves in these self-destructive habits to create something new, or are these just self-destructive habits that don't lead to creation? Or are we just annihilating ourselves to just do it? And that kind of sounds like the first question before, but I feel like it has a different twist. If it doesn't, let me know. Leave a comment down below. I'll read them all, I promise. And I want to have a discussion. So that's it, pretty much. These are the two questions that I kind of really want to pose, and these ideas just bounce off me, because that's what I've gained after revisiting this film from 6 years ago. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. You've been listening to In Post, really. I don't know, I'll probably do more of these episodes like this, where they're pretty quick, short to digest, and I really want to focus on the theme that I really enjoyed in a film. And so the theme of annihilation that I want to talk about is annihilation. Is it true? Are we just bound to be self-destructive individuals, or are we destroying something, ourselves and others, to create something more beautiful and grander? I don't know. But you've been listening to In Post. Stay tuned, stay locked in for film, TV reviews, discussions, and things like that. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok at in_post podcast, where you watch all my videos, you see what videos are coming out next, interact with me, and pretty much anywhere you can find me, that's where I'll be.